Hi class. This year in particular has been the year of AI agents. In particular, I think people are looking for some type of miracle with AI, especially when applied in workplaces and enterprise environments. So today, my talk is going to be on the future of AI agents. It should be an interesting topic. Let's begin. So let's take a look at this particular chart. This is a modern invention timeline, okay? What you have here is a list of various technologies that was invented in the last 100 years or so, okay? So looking at this, electricity, right, was invented early on, before 1920s, okay? And that was a technology that took a long time to be adopted, okay? It took about 50, 60 years to be very popular in American households. Now, fast forward to today, after the 2000s, there were a series of inventions that became very, very popular, like social media, mobile devices, especially AI, right? ChatGPT that came about the end of 2022. And the adoption rate for these modern technologies has been faster and faster than ever, right? For instance, you look at computer, it took about 20 years or so to become really popular, and almost everybody has one or more computer in every household. All right, social media even faster. Look at how steep the curve is. And ChatGPT, on the other hand, took almost no time to reach 100 million active users. 2 months, okay? That was how fast it got adopted. Now, of course, AI has been around for some time. Actually, it was really invented in the 1950s. But because of generative AI / ChatGPT, it became even more powerful and popular for everybody, okay? So today, I want to talk about how we got here with AI agents, okay? Because for AI, there's actually a lot of subfields. There's natural language processing, there's machine learning, there's neural net, there's generative AI, and computer vision, and so on and so forth, okay? This particular branch, AI agent, has been really, really interesting, especially for enterprise customers who would like to leverage it, right, to improve efficiency and productivity within company and offices. So let's get down to some of the details. But first of all, I want to start off by showing you a demo. What is possible today with AI agent? In this particular demo, it is a voice AI agent demo, which showcases a scenario where the AI agent is acting on behalf of a lending company, right? A company that gives out loans. And he's reaching out to me because I'm a borrower, right, from this company, right? And there's a loan that I have to pay back, but I haven't been on time with some of the payments. And this is what the agent's doing to me. Take a look.
My name is Emerson, and I'm calling from FastBiz Loans. I'm reaching out to discuss your small business loan. Can you please confirm that you are Cho and that you have an outstanding balance of $2,031.21 with us?
Yeah, this is he.
Mr. Cho, I wanted to touch base with you regarding your loan payment that was due on the 10th of this month. We haven't received the payment yet. Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on and why the payment is delayed?
This month, the cash flow is a little tough for us.
I understand that cash flow can be a challenge, especially during certain times of the year. I'm here to help, and I want to work with you to find a solution. Would it be possible to make a partial payment today to get us started? Or would you prefer to set up a payment plan to get your account back on track?
Tell me more about the payment plan.
payment plan would allow you to make regular payments towards your outstanding balance. Considering your current balance of $2,031.21, I would propose a monthly payment of $250. This amount can be reviewed and adjusted later if needed to ensure it's manageable for your business.
So you can see what the AI is doing, right? He's trying to collect on me. And obviously I'm explaining I have a cash flow problem, but if you look at the technology, it's actually quite amazing. The entire video was unscripted and literally it was able to respond very quickly, almost like a human on some of my responses. So it's actually very interactive. So imagine that technology getting deployed at a call center, right, being used by a lending company. It would save them millions of dollars, right, especially if the call volume was very high. So let's get out into definitions, right? What exactly is AI agent? Okay, really, right? So let's look at the evolution of AI agent. Okay, so in the very beginning, AI was somewhat passive, right? You basically write a prompt, which becomes an input to these large language models, such as ChatGPT, Claude AI, and Google's Gemini, right? And output, it gives a response. So this entire setup, it's good for looking for information. If a question about, okay, what's the population of California, you enter it in, it's most likely going to give you an answer that's accurate at the time of the model training, okay? And so this is good and all, but what about proprietary information or information that is proprietary to a company, right? Or insider secret or a database that's used at a company? Well, large language model, which are typically trained publicly, with public information, typically don't have access to company information. So they wouldn't be able to tell you if XYZ companies has a certain number of employees. If you ask that question, ChatGPT wouldn't be able to answer those type of questions, right? So that's level one, right? Very, very standard, like Q&A, chatbot, responding to a question, okay? So over the last 2 years or so, people have been wondering, can we do more, right, with these chatbots? So then came AI workflow, right? So this AI workflow is not quite AI agent yet, but it's getting close, okay? So imagine the scenario is this, right? The AI needs to schedule an appointment for me and a business associate to have a dinner so we can discuss some upcoming sales call. And the thing is, in order for the AI to do that, it needs to know my availability, right, for the coming weeks. So what we can do in AI workflow systems is that we can have these large language models, right, connect to these calendars, right, office calendars. And then from there, you will be able to know when I'm free, and it's going to check if my business associate is free as well in the coming weeks, and if there's an overlap in those free slots. If there was, then they can go ahead and set up a dinner appointment for all of us, right? And so that is the output. But what if today we need to know if the time we're setting up is a good day to have dinner, right? Is it gonna be rainy or sunny, right? In this case, right now, large language model doesn't know anything about weather, right? Because everything that's trained in large language model is from public information that was compiled at the time of training. So what can we do in this case? Now, if we take one of those weather APIs and connect to large language model like this, right? So that way, large language model can then go ahead and query the weather API about the day when we're going to have dinner, whether it's going to be a sunny or a rainy day. If it's rainy, probably pick another day when there is availability for both myself and our business associate. And with this, you can have AI that actually not just responds something to us, but actually it can do stuff for us, right? And that's amazing. But what do you think the problem may be, right? In this scenario, I think the challenge would be if you have a workflow, for instance, you want to be processing some company paperwork or what have you, there are certain processes, right? And in order to complete the operation of those processes, you then need to predefine these workflows, find systems with APIs to connect to, so the large language model can then have control over those. Now, this means you can have infinite number of steps in this AI workflow, right? Everything's got to be predefined properly with integrations and all, right? So this is not perfect. So what can we do better, right? Well, in this particular evolution, the next step is the AI agent, right? So level 3, right? You still want to do, so the scenario is still the same. We still want to have that business dinner, but here's an AI agent that doesn't know anything about these integrations at all. So in this case, what the AI agent can do is it follows this thing called React framework, or RE and ACT, right? Reasoning and act, React framework. So it's going to reason for itself, like what it should do, right? Before it actually does do them. And so in this case, it's going to figure out, okay, fine, I need to make an appointment with a restaurant, but what do I have to do first? Actually, I need to check the availability of these two people that want to meet and have a dinner discussion, right? And so it's actually doing the reasoning. And once it figures out, okay, I need access to calendar, I need access to restaurant systems, right? And to make an appointment. And then also I may need to have access to Uber so I can call cars, right, to pick up these people at the time that the dinner needs to happen. And so in this AI agent, what it does is that it goes to these reasoning loops, right, following the React framework to figure out what needs to be done and actually do them. So this is different from the AI workflow before, because AI workflow, you still need a human to kind of plan everything. In this case, AI agent figures out everything for itself and then carries out these tasks by executing them. So that's AI agent in a nutshell. But why is it particularly important right now, you may ask, right? So I think there are certain trends that we need to observe here. First of all, the cost of tokens, right, which is what what gets used by large language model in order to process information, is becoming cheaper and cheaper, right? The cost of these models are just dropping over time. Look at these costs in USD per million tokens, right? Llama is becoming cheaper and cheaper as new versions become available. Same thing with GPT, ChatGPT from OpenAI. So everything kind of becomes lower over time. And also, these are proprietary models, but if you're talking about these open source models, they're essentially free to get. All you have to do is host it, right? And have GPU. So that's even, the cost of those are actually lower, right? Then the other trend to observe here is some of these models are actually getting smarter and smarter over time, right? Here's a benchmark, right? MMLU, similar to a GRE or SAT tests, right, for these models. If you have them take, this is what they were scoring in 2022. They were like, the best models, they were doing about 70-80%, right? The blue one is open source model. The orange one is the closed source model, the proprietary models. And so over time, they're all reaching and converging to about 90%, right? Which is really, really amazing for large language models. The other thing that's becoming popular is we are building these tools that allows you to perform adaptive compute. What does that mean, right? Look at these delivery boxes. It's going to the right places, based on zip code, right? So the same thing with these task requests or prompts coming from the user. You can actually figure out, okay, for this particular task, is it easy to do? Or for this particular question, is it easy to answer? If it is, then route it to a simpler model that's cheaper, right, to handle these type of queries. And for the more complex questions, then route it to a smarter model, right, a bigger one that can handle it better to give more accurate answers. So that with that setup, then you're becoming more dangerous, right, with how you manage your costs when you're dealing with, leveraging these AI agents and AI applications. Another trend that I think it's worth noting is information retrieval is becoming really, really easy. So the cost to retrieve information is actually converging to zero, right? So pre-internet era, if you want to find out about population of some married couples in a city or a state, you would go to a public library, or you might have to go to a government office or city office to look things up. So it takes time, right? Those things took time, took hours, or sometimes even days for questions that are more complicated, right? How many couples got married in, say, Taiwan in 1981? Those would take days, right? Pre-internet era. But now with ChatGPT, it's a lot faster, right? That information at your fingertips. You don't need to do too much lookup. It kind of formulates the answer for you, and it shows up, on your computer, right? And so with all that, what kind of future are we looking at, right? There are some really, really amazing applications today with AI agent, but I want to focus more on, real estate and that industry in particular, just to kind of show an example. So back in the day when I was still a student, right, in New York City, it was extremely difficult to find a good apartment because oftentimes there are too many people looking for apartments, right? And even if we wanted to get an apartment, we need to kind of either bring a large chunks of cash, right, with us, or a check, so that when we go see and tour the property, if we get the landlord on the phone, then we can actually place our deposit and give our money to the landlord right on the spot, right? So there was a lot of work, a lot of coordination, a lot of inefficiencies, right? There are also people that don't have that kind of money available but still need to find a place, right? So for them, it's even harder. And so what this company has done is they've come up with these AI agents that help connect potential renters to properties, right? The company I'm talking about is called EliseAI. They're very strong in property management and as well as in healthcare. It's all what they do is they really have these end-to-end workflow management, right, through AI agents. You can, you can have these systems be deployed, right, to property managing companies, and it can then respond to inquiries that either that comes through email, text, or chat, right? Everything answered by a bot. And you can also have answers to, you can also handle some of these things in a different language. For instance, in New York, Spanish is probably very, popular. So that could be an option for users. But the most powerful thing is, they have these AI agents connected to CRMs and billing systems and rank connection systems. So you can actually automate everything and run things autonomously, which is why it's becoming more and more efficient. And if you look at some of the stats, right, these are the these are the KPIs for this company more recently, right? They surpassed 100 million annual recurring revenue, which is amazing for a company that size, right? And with the system deployed in place, their occupancy rate for the property is actually a lot higher, which is awesome, right? It saves money, right? Save 1.3 million in 7 months by Xeon, right? Using voice AI. There's also there's also headcount reduction of 15% at some of these properties. And right now, the system EliseAI is deployed across 70% of the top 50 multifamily owners, right? Usually it's private, these REITs in the US. So in 2024, they reached unicorn status at last, and I think this year in August, they reached about $250 million in funding, which is amazing, right, for this company. And there are a lot more startups in the real estate space that uses AI agent. This space is huge. There is construction, there is design, there is development and investing, there's property operations, mortgage and funding, renovation and maintenance, right? All these things are trying to reduce friction in the market, right, by leveraging AI agent. And so for those people, right, they are not in the real estate industry, what can they learn from all this, right? So here's a report from McKinsey and Company. It was a survey that was sent out to about 2,000 people. One of the things to note is that, people have seen that revenue benefits, right, from AI in marketing and sales strategy and corporate finance are very, very obvious, right? Number one, marketing and sales, right? If you deploy AI, this department, marketing and sales, are probably going to see some real impact. Followed by strategy, corporate finance, and then product and service development, right? Such as vibe coding tools. So there is a lot of use here, I think, fairly interesting for companies that want to decide which department in the company they want to leverage AI first. Another really interesting trend is, okay, so you may ask, what are some of the industries getting benefited most by AI agents today? So the key ones are technology, media, telecommunication, and healthcare, right? These are traditionally industries. They are fairly unproductive in many areas, right? They need, they need some tools usually to deal with inefficiencies in their companies. So they naturally benefit the most from AI. But let's take a look in a not so distant future. What's there to come, right? So I think right now a lot of the talks that we're seeing are mostly about AI agents in the software space. But what about hardware, right? So what I'm beginning to see is people are experimenting MCP, right? And to connect chatbots or large language models with, with hardware interfaces such as, maybe switches to electricity in the building, temperature control, even 3D printers, right? So through large language model and AI, you can actually control hardware, right? Robotics are all over the place in China today. They're trying to build robots that can do stuff. Neo, a company from Norway, just launched a product, right? And they're looking for more people to adopt the technology. The other thing that's coming, I think, it's this multi-agent collaboration. What I think is in the future, AI agents are going to be more specialized in their role. You're going to have, AI agent that knows sales really well. You have AI agent that knows marketing well. You have AI agent that knows operations really well. But they can work together and talk to each other to get stuff done, right? And that's what's amazing. The other thing is, I think a huge opportunity is AI agent in the healthcare space. Healthcare space in the US is very inefficient. There are many players, right, in healthcare. Healthcare providers, insurance company, and patients themselves, right? And how do you get these three parties to really collaborate and become more efficient? I think the best way is to deploy a healthcare AI agent so that it can work among them and become part of the healthcare team. So that's where I think the future is going. Thank you so much for your time today.